Today, I'm going to be giving you guys the updated Season 4 biggest green window jump shots for every single position in NBA 2K22 Next Gen and Current Gen. Before we do hop into things though, like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. It's completely free, takes 5 seconds, and you can always change your mind later. I'm going to give you guys the jump shot for ball handlers, then the jump shot for spot up or lockdown builds, and then finally the big man jump shot for both games. There will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip around. I'm not really one to make you guys watch the entire video for no reason. So for ball handlers on current gen, I'd recommend using base 104, release 1 25% 26, and release 2 75% Paul George. Also, you can flip the upper releases if you want to, so that it's Paul George first and 26 second, but then you would also have to flip the blending, so it's 75-25. This jump shot is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated jump shots in the entire game, which is why I'm showing you guys this. This jumper is perfect for guards since it's money from up top, but it's also super duper fast, which makes it almost impossible to guard. It has the third biggest green window in current gen. The speed of this jump shot is a very good thing since it makes it way harder to guard since it's so much faster. But for some people, it might be a bit too fast, so you can use a different jump shot on this list or knock it down to 3 out of 4 speed. Personally, however, for me, it's honestly just super easy to time green. To time this jump shot correctly, obviously you need to know its cue. A cue pretty much is an indicator that tells you how to time your jump shot. This can be a variety of things, but for this jump shot, what I recommend doing is just stare above your player's head. Then as soon as you see the ball, release square. I love when a cue can just be that simple, like it literally doesn't get any better than that. But if you are still confused, pretty much just aim to release square right here. That jump shot that I just showed you guys is, in my opinion, the best guard jump shot on current gen. But if you're on next gen, then what I would recommend doing instead is use base 3, release 1 Paul George, and release 2 Ray Allen with 40-60 blending and max speed. It feels like every single season 2K changes the delay a little bit, and so far from what I've tried, this is my favorite guard next gen jump shot. Similarly to the current gen jump shot that I just showed you guys, this jump shot is super fast. It's actually the fastest jumper in the entire game, although 104 on current gen is actually faster, which honestly isn't really that surprising because current gen jumpers are just way faster than next gen jumpers. Again, similarly to the previous jump shot, this base 3 jump shot is super good from the top of the key. It also has a massive green window and is also very easy to green, just like the other jump shot. What is different about this jump shot is the cue. The cue for the previous jump shot is releasing square as soon as you see the ball, but for this particular jump shot, what you're going to want to do instead is you're going to want to aim to release square once you see your player's arms sort of snap towards the basket. So pretty much when you see the ball accelerate, like right here. Okay, so that's going to wrap things up for the guard jump shot on both next gen and current gen. But now we're going to be moving on to the lockdown or spot up jumpers. On current gen, I would recommend using base set shot 6, release 1 62, release 2 PG with 50-50 blending. This jump shot has a massive green window, one of the biggest in the game, and is also pretty fast. But in my opinion, the biggest upside of this jump shot, especially for spot up builds, is that it gives the biggest boost of all other jump shots if it's timed correctly. Even with a low 3-pointer or with very few shooting badges, as long as you know your jump shot, you're going to be able to green pretty much 100% of shots. And as a lockdown or spot up, you really should know your jumper like the back of your hand. So moving on to the cue of this jump shot. You actually have 2 cues you can use. I'll explain both of them as well as explain the pros and cons of each of them. The first cue, and probably the more basic cue, is you're going to want to look at the ball. Then you're going to want to wait for it to stop going backwards and start going forward. Essentially, just wait for the ball to start changing directions like right here. Now, as I said, you have 2 options, and the second option is a bit more interesting. Pretty much, you're going to want to look at your player's feet, and then once they touch or get close to touching, you're going to want to release square. The exact point you release square varies a ton depending on your ping, but for me, I release square right here usually. There's a few pros and cons of this cue opposed to the previous one. This cue is less consistent, but there will be games and times when you don't miss at all. And then another major con is that you can't always use this cue. For example, when you're in the corners, it's pretty much impossible to see your player's feet unless you're using like a weird camera angle or something. So you're pretty much gonna have to have 1 cue from up top and 1 cue for the corner. But beyond that, it's just super clear and super good for beginners, so try it out and see for yourself. For the next gen jumper, I would recommend using base mellow, with literally the exact same upper releases as the current gen jump shot, being 50-50, PG, and 62. This jumper is actually very similar to the previous jump shot. It's not quite as good. The green window is a bit smaller, but it's still pretty big. Additionally, Mellow is a bit slower than Set Shot 6, which honestly isn't that big of a deal. And finally, even though Mellow does give a very good boost for timing it correctly, it's obviously not nearly as big as Set Shot 6. However, this jump shot is still very easy to green despite it being a little bit worse than the previous one. That's kind of just the way it works. On current gen, it's way easier to shoot, but on next gen builds in general have higher 3 points, so it kind of works out. The cue for this jump shot is surprisingly similar to the previous Set Shot 6 jumper. The first option of waiting until the ball changes directions still works very well on next gen. However, do be aware he doesn't pull the ball back as far, so pretty much aim to release square right here. And the second cue that you can use is waiting until his feet touch. I think you're best to aim to release square right here, because even though they aren't fully touching yet, by the time they actually do touch, the ball's already been released and it's too late. Now finally, for the big men jumpers, on current gen, I would recommend using base Larry Bird with pure Paul George as upper releases. This jumper can be used if you are taller than 6'10" and is also super smooth. Additionally, this jump shot has one of the biggest green windows in the entire game, has decent speed, and is very easy to green. The cue for this jump shot is pretty much you're going to want to look at the ball and just wait for it to start and swing towards the basket. So pretty much I just aim to release square when the ball starts to accelerate around here. Overall, this is just a super smooth jump shot that's all around very good for big men. So moving on to the last and final jump shot of the entire video, and this is going to be a next gen big man jump shot, and that is base 82, release 1 50% 13, and release 2 50% Kevin Durant. Of course, this jump shot does work with restricted jump shot bases. It has a pretty big green window and is also average speed. Additionally, a major upside of this jump shot is that you get a massive boost for timing it correctly, which is amazing for big man builds since usually they do have a relatively low 3-point rating. And now moving on to the cue of this jump shot. For this jumper, you're going to want to look at the ball, wait for it to come up, and then you'll see it rapidly accelerate towards the basket. Once you see this acceleration, you're going to want to release square, so like right here. Again, this is just a very good all-around big man jump shot, especially for builds that have lower 3-point ratings. In total, I gave you guys 6 jump shots, and I hope at least one of them did help you guys. And if it did, drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. There's my dribble stigs on the screen right now, as well as a dribble tutorial. Go follow me on Twitter, and I'm out. Peace.